This is the Websites.ca podcast, where we help Canadian small businesses build and maintain an effective website and online presence.
Hey everybody, it's Sean Corbett here. I do marketing for Websites.ca.
And Ryan Demaray, accounts manager with Websites.ca.
Nice. So today, Ryan and I were going to talk about a few interesting email requests and email questions that we had come in the last few weeks. So Ryan, do you want to take us from there?
Absolutely. So just wanted to bring up an issue that a customer had with an email that came from Rackspace. So I'll set the scene. The customer received an email saying, you have 31 undelivered mail clustered on your cloud due to low email storage capacity detected. And we are awaiting your action for this mail to be delivered. And then there's a link there, and the link said, release messages to inbox. So this customer legitimately thought, hey, my inbox might be full, or there's a problem. I'm missing out on 31 emails. Let me click this link and release these messages. So the client went in, clicked the link. The link asked them to log into their account, and they logged in, providing their username and password, and the link didn't go anywhere. It basically just loaded to a blank white screen. So client reached out to us for support on this, and we double-checked and said, oh, well, your mailbox is not full. Your mailbox is working as expected. So this email is what's called in the internet world a phishing email. Essentially, it was fraudulently sent saying, hey, you got to do something about your account, hoping that people will be shocked into, oh, I got to do something, and provide their username and password to their account.
Also, to interrupt here, the hook is when we say Rackspace, for the people who don't know what that is, that's a major email provider. So probably the phishers or scammers were searching this person's domain. They saw that they had email servers hosted with Rackspace. So they said, okay, what is the what's an authority figure? What are people going to listen to, right? If I put Rackspace and your email account right in the subject line, right in the first couple lines, that's what gets people's attention because they think, oh, I know I have email through that provider. So it's kind of like when you get the fake emails from Apple.com or Amazon, right? Or eBay saying your account is compromised. You need to change your password or something.
Exactly. A lot of the phishing emails go after the big brand names, whether it's Apple or Netflix. Amazon is a popular one where, oh, your Amazon account is compromised. You need to reset your password. And those are actually the scammers trying to get access to your account. But in this client's case, thankfully, she contacted us right away. And immediately we noticed, okay, this is there's something scammy going on here. So how we resolved the issue is we just went in and immediately reset her password to something new. So even though she did provide her current password to that fake login, we went in, reset the password, and just advised that, hey, keep an eye on your email account in the next couple of days. If anything weird happens, reach back out to us and we can troubleshoot. But the moral of the story is when these emails come in that say you need to take action, you definitely want to pause and look at the email and question its legitimacy, because the red flag for me when I reviewed this email was the email came from a .de email account. So for those that don't know, most countries have a country extension. .de is for Germany. So this email that's sent to our customer was coming from a Rackspace support at some odd domain .de. So that to me was immediately like, well, why isn't this coming from Rackspace.com, which is their primary email? It's coming from some strange domain based in Germany. So that was the red flag for me that said, hey, this is not legit.
Yeah, and so again, to reiterate what Ryan said, if you're listening to this, obviously you have to look for those red flags because not every phishing email is the same. But right now, sort of currently, because this did just happen, if you get an email that says something like, you have undelivered mail clustered on your cloud, if you get anything that says something like that, I would hard pause and just talk to your provider about it.
Exactly. Because it can be tricky navigating these emails, because sometimes there are legitimate emails that come through when you have an email problem, or your account might actually be compromised, like somebody's trying to log into your account over and over again, and that will typically trigger an email to send to you to warn you about this. But you just got to be cautious about those emails, because there are these phishing emails out there, and when we say phishing emails, it's not spelt like the casting your line into the water. It's phishing, PHISHING, phishing emails. They're really common these days, and you got to just have your wits about you when you get these emails, and just double check that everything looks legitimate before proceeding. And worst case scenario, if you do click on the link and follow the instructions and something weird happens, it loads you to a blank screen, or you think something's wrong, the very next step that you should do is get in and update your password.
Yeah. There you go. Funnily enough, I realized I don't know the origin of the word phishing in the sense that you're using it, Ryan. So I just quickly looked it up while we're online here. It was coined around 1996 by hackers stealing America online accounts and passwords.
Yep.
By analogy with the sport of angling. So they actually did use the real word fish, FISH, and just put their own little spin on it. So that's funny.
Exactly.
That's what they're trying to do. Now, on that note, you had mentioned to me before that you wanted to talk about interfacing with somebody's inbox, because people get these scammy emails. Like you said, also legitimate emails do come in, so they have to, watch and look for things. And then we were also talking about spam and the spam filter, and somehow, sometimes a phishing email gets through to your inbox, and other times a legitimate email from your provider or from your one of your hosts or something that goes to your spam filter. So maybe you could chat about that too.
Absolutely. And I think the timing is perfect for this, because we're talking about phishing emails and spam emails. So spam filters in 2020 are pretty damn good. They filter out most of the crappy spam that is being sent to everybody's inbox on the daily. However, like Sean said, sometimes spam emails will make its way through the filters and end up in your inbox. So you got to be cautious of those. But almost more importantly, what everybody should be doing with their emails is they should have a schedule of when they check their spam box for legitimate emails. Because I was just chatting with a client this week that had missed a lead because that lead ended up in their spam box. And why it ended up in their spam box, I believe it was because they included some website links in their email reply. And for whatever reason, their email spam filter decided, I don't know about this message, especially since it was an email account that had never sent this specific email, an email message before. So long story short, it was a lead that was flagged in their spam box, and they didn't respond for a week because they didn't even know it was there. So my advice to any small business owners you should have a schedule for when you just skim through your spam box to make sure there are no legitimate contacts or legitimate leads or emails that do get incorrectly marked as spam. Because spam is just something that's evolving right in front of us. Every day, every week, every month, spam evolves, and the spammers themselves are evolving techniques to get past the spam filters, and the spam filters are evolving to try and reduce and eliminate the spam that ends up in your inbox. So although these filters are pretty good and work pretty amazingly 98% of the time, that doesn't mean that there's no room for error. So my advice is, what I like to do, I check my spam box once a week, and I do it on Fridays before the end of the day. Last thing I do before I finish up my week, I load up my spam box, I give it a quick skim, make sure there's nothing that I missed. But you can choose a schedule that works best for you for when you check your spam box.
Sometimes in the spam box, there's really generous offers from Nigerian princes.
This is true.
Talking about spam filters, I have a lot of experience with this in the email marketing world. I probably mentioned on this podcast before that I don't just do marketing for websites.ca. I do email marketing for quite a few clients in the US and in Canada. And one of the biggest humps that people have to get over when they start to do a lot of email marketing or just have a business email in general is to really hammer home the point that Ryan just said, which is that because spammers are evolving and spam filters must constantly evolve to deal with them, that means email delivery changes quite a bit too. So you think, well, if I collect someone's email the correct way, excuse me, and like they gave permission to use their email, and then you go into say MailChimp or Aweber or what have you, and you send them a message, you'd be surprised how often it goes to spam for no good reason whatsoever, except that MailChimp was tweaking their algorithm that day. Or it may be that email blacklist accidentally put an IP address on there. And so all of a sudden half of MailChimp's customers, if they're sending to a specific user, right? So I'll give you an example. I have a bunch of friends that are friends and acquaintances and so on that are on an email list for a small business that sells wine virtually. So it's like an online virtual wine club. And they signed up for this with their own email address. Their email address happens to be a Hotmail address. And there's something just right now, like 2019, 2020, with MailChimp and Hotmail, where it is almost impossible to get an email delivered from MailChimp to Hotmail. I mean, just this guy knows that we're going to email him once a week or more. And he checks for it and he wants to buy. And he even calls me because he has my phone number and says, well, I can't find the email. So he's looking for it. And he finds it in his spam box. Excuse me. He finds it in his spam box every single time. And then he moves it to his inbox. And Hotmail has a thing that says you can mark this as important mail. Always put it at the top of my inbox. Next time I send him something, right to spam again. And that's not an issue that happens with anyone else on our list, just the Hotmail users. And just for right now. So again, like I said, I've seen this thing come and go. And at websites.ca, we use pretty major program called Infusionsoft. It was now bought out by a company called Keep. So it's a pretty major autoresponder system. And same deal. Sometimes there's email addresses like TELUS email addresses. Yep. Ryan, we have a heck of a time delivering to TELUS email addresses, sending legitimate emails. Like we might be sending our customers a notice about our Christmas hours, right? So it's just an innocuous email. No sales are going on. We're not cold emailing anybody. These are our customers, and it still won't deliver to TELUS or Shaw sometimes. So the biggest thing to remember is to look at things from both sides of the aisle. So if you're sending someone an email and they're not responding, especially if you have an email address that is a role-based email address. So if it's not your name, if it's info@ or admin@ or something, and you send emails to other people just manually, not even from an email program, sometimes they don't get through. Sometimes your emailing program is not pushing emails through to people. Sometimes it's not counting opens and what went to spam, what bounced back, what opened correctly. So the world of internet marketing is imperfect. And that's the one thing you have to understand. And that ties back into Ryan's original message here too, is that so that same thing is happening to you. You might have legitimate messages coming to you that get caught in a spam filter that never get to you in the first place. So it just pays off to kind of check all your bases off and look in the spam box every now and again.
Awesome insight, Sean. Appreciate that. And if I could add just one final note about this spam issue. If and when you find a spam message that shouldn't be in your spam box, if you're using a mail program like Gmail or Outlook or most mail programs, give you the option to mark a message as not spam or not junk. My advice is to use that function because it actually trains your email program to no longer put messages like that or from that sender in your spam box. I've had some customers that just manually move that email. They'll click and drag it into their inbox. That's okay as a one-time solution, but it's not typically training your email program to, hey, watch out for this. This isn't spam. So make sure to use that function in your email program because it will save you some headache down the road.
Unless, like I say, you're using Hotmail, which for some reason is so stubborn and it'll never change. But
not a perfect solution that works every time, but it's definitely the recommended method to try and increase your deliverability. Because as Sean said, email deliverability is not an exact science. And although you have signed up to a mailing list, you're expecting the email. Sometimes, if you're dealing with two different mail providers that aren't seeing eye to eye that day, or they're doing an update to their algorithm that day, it could affect deliverability. So there is these variables that we got to consider.
Oh yeah, and people will do things like they'll say, "Oh, Outlook is messing with my business email, so I have to change," or Gmail is not working correctly, so I have to change, or my email provider is not delivering correctly, so I have to change. And the fact of the matter is you're never going to find a perfect email service provider, and you're never going to find a perfect email newsletter provider. And so these things are, believe it or not, they're a lot more average and normal and regular occurrences than you might think. And I see it a lot, obviously, because I work with so many different companies doing this stuff.
Yeah, that covers the major points. I think we've really honed in on a specific topic here about spam, phishing emails and your Spambox, and I think we should keep it focused on that. And that's all I have to say about that this week.
Get from your provider. You can switch to websites.ca for free and get a great support team behind you. Just visit business.websites.ca. That's business.websites.ca, or email Ryan directly at ryan@websites.ca.
Thanks for listening, guys. Catch you next time.